everyone. Welcome back from the holiday weekend. I hope you all had a great July 4th, and I'm happy to be back with you all. This video is actually coming out a little earlier than originally intended, mainly due to adverse weather conditions that happened earlier today. I woke up this morning getting ready to go to work, and I get alerts on my phone that there are flash flood warnings everywhere in my area, and I'm like, I'm not gonna try it. I'm not. No, I don't feel like it. Just straight up no. I don't feel like it. I'll stay at home today, extend my holiday by an extra day, and we'll be fine. Because I am not driving in that mess. I won't do it. Hopefully everything will be cleaner tomorrow. But because I stayed home today, that allowed me to watch both G1 Climax 29's kickoff show in Dallas and Impact Wrestling Slammiversary 17. So I was going to try and get those both done by Tuesday, but because I was home today, it's like, all right, I can get it all done now. So you're going to be getting those two reviews from me. You're also going to be getting my top 10 matches for the month of June 2019, which I didn't give you in the previous video. I apologize for that, but things got in the way. And as you can see, I'm back home now. I'm in my normal shooting area, my normal home. And it feels great to be home, and it feels great to be back from the holidays, so let's just go ahead and get started. So, top 10 matches for June 2019. Let's just blow right through these. Number 10, The Elite versus the Lucha Brothers and the Laredo Kid from AEW Fyter Fest. Number 9, Kazuchika Okada versus Chris Jericho from, this was for the IWGP World title from Dominion. Cody versus Darby Allin from AEW Fyter Fest is number 8. Number 7 is the Undisputed Era, or Red Dragon, as I prefer to call them. The Street Profits, the Forgotten Sons, Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch in a 4-way tag team ladder match for the vacant NXT tag team titles. This was at NXT TakeOver 25. Number 6 is Matt Riddle versus Roderick Strong, the opening match from NXT TakeOver 25. Number 5, Jon Moxley versus Joey Janela in an unsanctioned match. The main event, I guess we'll call it the main event, even though it's an unsanctioned match, of AEW Fyter Fest. Number 4, Kota Ibushi versus Tetsuya Naito for the IWGP IC title from Dominion. Number 3, Dragon Lee versus Will Ospreay for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight title from Dominion. Number 2, Juice Robinson versus Jon Moxley for the IWGP US title. This was Jon Moxley's first match outside of the WWE following his coming to terms with his release from WWE. And an early indicator, it's like, whoa, Jon Moxley's super, super motivated, and it shows. So that was a great match to see. But my number 1 match of the month goes to the main event of NXT TakeOver 25, Johnny Gargano versus Adam Cole for the NXT title, with Adam Cole finally winning the NXT title belt. I like the fact that Cole won, and I actually preferred this match over the 2 out of 3 falls match that they had at the previous TakeOver WrestleMania weekend. Made a little bit more sense from a psychology standpoint. So overall, really strong set of matches this month. I'm going to give Brand of the Month to New Japan. Mainly with like everything that they've been doing to set up the G1 Climax and moving towards that, and having Dominion, which wasn't a perfect show, but was a very enjoyable one, and it got me super amped up for the G1 Climax, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit, and I can't wait to dive right into that tournament. So for that, I'm going to give Brand of the Month to New Japan. Now, let's talk about the 2 pay-per-views that I watched, or 2 events that I watched this weekend. Actually watched this morning, but, whatever. They happened this previous weekend. G1 Supercard, or what is it called? The G1 Climax 29 kickoff. That's just what I'm going to call it. Happened in Dallas, and overall impressions of the show, that it was very, very good. Particularly the tournament matches were very, very strong. The venue itself had a lot of noticeable empty seats, and there were sections that were very empty. And that didn't look good on camera, but fortunately the crowd was very lively and was into it, and it didn't look barren, it didn't look empty, like the arena didn't look empty, but it was clear that maybe they didn't sell as many tickets as they'd hoped they would, because there were some noticeable, like, empty sections, and it's like, man, maybe tarp's a good idea. It looks better on camera if you tarp it off. I don't know, but in any case, I did think the show was very good. Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail about the tag matches that were kind of the start of the show, because it's typical of New Japan shows. Not that the tag matches are bad, but it's just largely just previews for bigger things down the road. I thought Gorillas of Destiny and Roppongi 3K had a solid match as the opener. I thought it was cool to get a preview to Ishii and Jeff Cobb. Boy, oh boy, do I want to see that match. And there's a couple of other fun things in the tag matches, but nothing worth really going too in depth about. They were just a bunch of fun, like little action-packed matches to get the show started. And then we go into the tournament matches, and out of the 5 that we got from Block A, 4 of them were very, very good. The weakest one of the bunch was Bad Luck Fale versus Evil, which I expected. I like Bad Luck Fale. I've said that before. I like him. He's just a big bruiser guy that works like a big bruiser guy, and I'm okay with that. But he has to be in there with somebody that kind of complements his title. I don't know if... complements his style. And I don't know if Evil is that guy. To be perfectly honest, I'm not that high on Evil. I know he always seems to get big pushes, and people seem to like him, but I've always been kind of, he's all right. But I prefer Sonata, to be perfectly honest. But that said, I thought the match was okay. It was a typical power match, and it was fine for what it was, but it wasn't anything that great. So it was the weakest one of the 5, and I expected it to be. The other 4 tournament matches were very, very good. Will Ospreay versus Lance Archer. Holy shit, I've never seen Lance Archer look this good in a match. And I've been watching this dude since he was Dallas and Lance Hoyt in TNA, where he was one of those guys that accidentally got over with the Impact Zone crowd. And they chanted Hoyt, Hoyt, Hoyt at him, and like they tried to make Hoytomania a thing for like 3 months, and then it just fizzled out. It's amazing that I even remember that, but I didn't even know he was capable of having a match this good. I was like, oh my god. And granted, he's working with Ospreay, but I think Ospreay's more high-flying style and his, being tall and more power-driven, I think made for a very exciting match. Very, very good stuff. And I was really happy to see Lance Archer get the win. It was a nice, I guess you would call it an upset win, given, the level of star power involved. But his size gave him an advantage, and he got the win. And the stuff they did in this match, I mean, go check it out. It was some really, really good stuff with some of the counters and the power moves and all the crazy stuff that Archer and Ospreay did together. And I like that he's using the Iron Claw as a finish, too, which is kind of nice to see. That's an old classic standby that's kind of nice to see it used again. We also had Kota Ibushi versus Kenta, which I thought was a hell of a match and a nice indicator. It's like, okay, it looks like Kenta's back to A-level form here. He got the win, obviously, but coming off the heels of, I think, what many would call a disappointing run in the WWE, I think Kenta had a lot to prove, and he went out there and had a hell of a match. So, and Ibushi is like a great first opponent for him, I think, because Ibushi works well with just about anybody. So, I thought the match they had was very, very good. What's the other one? Speaking of Sonata, I mentioned him earlier. Zack Sabre Jr. versus Sonata. Hell of a match. And once again, I just love Zack Sabre Jr. matches. I love the way he works because it's a very minimalist style. He doesn't actually do that much when you look at his matches, but every little thing he does looks like it hurts. Every little thing he does looks like it matters. And he's just a master technician at crafting a story together and working these wonderful matches. Like, of all the people in the world, and we can talk about work rate and versus character and stuff like that, but as far as straight up technical ability goes, Zack Sabre Jr. might be my number 1 favorite guy to watch as far as that goes. I don't know if he would work as a main event world title type of guy, but the matches he has, I just adore. He's I just love watching his matches. I think he's great. And Sonata, I think, just keeps getting better and better. So the two meshed together very well, and I had a very exciting match. That was a lot of fun to watch. And then we had the main event, the latest entry in the classic series of matches between Hiroshi Tanahashi and Kazuchika Okada. And I understood why they did this match as a main event of a Dallas show, because that series of matches does have a lot of positive buzz surrounding it, and everybody loves the matches between Okada and Tanahashi. It's like one of these legendary pairings that has gotten a ton of attention over the last few years. Me personally, I'm kind of I feel like I've seen them do everything that there is to do with each other. Can they do anything that's that fresh? And it's kind of like where AJ and Daniels were at in TNA, where it got to a point where I was like, if I see that match one more time, I'm going to lose my mind. And all the matches were good. That's the thing. It's like, look, it's not that their matches are bad. It's just that I've seen it a million times. But something about Okada and Tanahashi, man, they make it work every single time, and this was no exception. And this was on the lower end of their matches, and it was still great. I thought it was a great, great match with a lot of the counters that they did, and a lot of it felt like two guys that had wrestled each other a ton of times because they seemed to have an answer for each other's top stuff. And very cool match once again from these two, with Okada getting the win and closing out, and the IWGP World Champion closes out night one of the G1 Climax with a victory over arguably his greatest rival. So big night for Okada, obviously, and overall just very nice set of tournament matches. I really liked, out of the 5 tournament matches we got, I really enjoyed 4 of them. So, I mean, this might be my favorite New Japan show of the year so far that I've seen, because Wrestle Kingdom, not bad, but not as good as previous Wrestle Kingdoms. Dominion, not bad, but not as good as previous Dominions. This show, I thought, was really good, and was the most thoroughly entertained I've been by a New Japan show, except for maybe the MSG show, now that I think about it. The MSG show was really good, but that one ran too long, so this one was kind of a more acceptable length, I guess you could say. And just overall, just a nice series of matches and a great start to the tournament, and I can't wait to see more out of this thing. I've already gone through the entire schedule of all the G1 shows, and it's like, all right, which matches do I want to watch? And I put a list together, and like, I'm going to try like once a week to kind of like do a G1 catch-up and watch the matches that I want to watch. So here we go. G1 Climax is kicked off, and I'm already excited. So I can't wait to see how this thing plays out. And I think having names like Will Ospreay and Kenta and Jon Moxley thrown into the mix, and Jeff Cobb as well, I think it adds a whole lot of freshness to the tournament as well. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how a lot of these matches pan out. So thumbs up, New Japan. I thought you did a really good job. Now, let's talk about Impact Wrestling's Slammiversary 17. I cannot believe that this company is still around after 17 years. It's incredible, because, I mean, they're like, I mean, if a cat has 9 lives, how many lives does TNA/Impact/Global Force, how many lives do they have, you know? And, you know, the opening video package talked about, oh, we had Sting and Kurt Angle and Hulk Hogan. It's like, yeah, I remember those days, back when it felt like you mattered, and now it's just like a company that's just struggling to get attention and survive. But I've heard that they're setting up a TV deal with Access TV, which, if that's true, I mean, that's better than the Pursuit channel. I mean, you know, it's a better situation than where they're in now. But in any case, I didn't think the show's venue looked that great. It looked like they were in a hole in the wall, and they just kind of, like, wherever they were, it didn't look like a sporting venue at all. It looked like some, like, small-sized theater in the middle of nowhere that they just kind of dressed up to look like a wrestling event, and it looked like they were wrestling inside of a black hole. So I didn't like the look of the venue at all. It looked very small-time, but and we also had a problem with the tag title match, which was a 3-way. It was the North defending the titles against LAX and the Rascals. And obviously, whatever the finish of that match was, it had to be rushed, because Santana for LAX got hurt. So it was obvious that the finish was very rushed. So things didn't go right with that match, and that was easily the worst match on the show. So all of that said, I think those are the only things I disliked about the show. I thought the show was very, very good. I thought, man, this was one of the better shows I've seen this year from any company. I was like, damn, Slammiversary really surpassed my expectations. Because in my preview, I was kind of like, whatever. It doesn't look like a dire card, but I'm not expecting much out of this. And sure enough, they came through and delivered one of the most thoroughly entertaining pay-per-views I've seen all year. And I guess if I had one other knock, it's that the corner or the apron bumps were used way too much on the show. And I'm starting to see them more and more. It's like, God, I remember when Kevin Owens did it to Sami Zayn and it, like, murdered him. And, well, not murdered him, but, like, put him out of action. And now it's, like, a thing that people do in the middle of a match. And it's like, yeah, that's disappointing. But I thought almost all the matches were really, really good. The tag match was the only one that really fell short to me. The opening 4-way was an action-packed, fun opener to kind of get things off on the right foot. I thought the First Blood match was really good. Killer Kross and Eddie Edwards. And I typically don't like First Blood matches. It's one of those gimmicks that looks great on paper, but in execution it almost always sucks, because it's very limiting, because you don't want to risk getting busted open hard way, and on paper it promises a lot of violence, but it really doesn't in execution, because once somebody bleeds, it's over. So it's really not that violent compared to a lot of other gimmick matches that are out there in pro wrestling. So again, it's one of those things, looks great on paper, typically not great in execution, and this is one of the better First Blood matches I've ever seen. It was just a nice, wild brawl with Eddie Edwards, sacrificing Kenny too, to basically stab Cross in the face and get the blood. And this was after a really long and well done brawl between the two. So the blood actually felt like a good climax to everything. It was actually really well done, and that one far surpassed my expectations. I was like, holy crap, that one was really good. We had the Monsters Ball match for the Knockouts title, which was crazy as hell. Saw Rosemary take a friggin' curb stomp into Thumbtacks, and there was a top rope tombstone at one point, and I'm like, oh my god, who the hell's crazy enough to take a top rope tombstone? That's insane. And it was just a wild, violent match with Taya sneaking out a victory, but it was also nice to get to see Father James Mitchell. I never opposed seeing the Sinister Minister because I love him. He's great. One of the most underrated managers of all time. He's just so good, so good. And we also had RVD versus Moose, a match that I did not expect to be very good. Kind of like what I said about Evil and Bad Luck Fale. I'm like, yeah, those two probably are going to mesh very well. And they had a really good match, probably the best RVD match I've seen in years. Because I'd criticized him for slowing down. Actually, it was his last run in TNA where I started to notice it, where I was like, man, he's really slowing down. And I noticed it in WWE whenever he came back in WWE, and any other time I saw him, it's like, yeah, he can still do all of his stuff, but he looks like he's moving in slow motion. Here, I think they let Moose kind of be the star, and I think that worked. And, Moose kind of looked really, really good in there up against, a former world champion in Rob Van Dam, and got the victory, so it was a big win for him as well. So, a nice showcase for Moose, and just a nice clashing styles match that I didn't expect to have. I'll be honest, I did not expect much out of this match, but I thought it was really, really good, actually. Very surprised by that. And then we got the X Division title match, Rich Swann defending against Johnny Impact. And that match went a mile a minute, so if you like cruiserweight style action, this match is for you. Great stuff. And they just went at a breakneck speed and did all sorts of crazy stuff with each other. And some might think that I'm accusing it of being a spot fest. I don't really think it was a spot fest. I think it was just two guys going out there and just having this really nice athletic contest. With Rich Swann getting kind of a surprise win. I kind of expected Johnny to win this, but overall, I thought it was a very good match that kind of embodied what the X Division was originally all about. Like, just the action and the type of stuff that you would not see out of the heavyweights, although wait. I thought the X title match was very, very good. I guess if I had any knock on it, like, the Johnny Bravo stuff doesn't work for me, but that's like a minor thing. Everything else about this match I really enjoyed. I thought it was very good. And then we got the world title match between Cage and the challenger, Michael Elgin. This match was great. This match was awesome. It was a perfect powerhouse bruiser, heavyweight match. It was just two athletic big guys that can do some really incredible things, but also have like a lot of power and can throw you around if need be. And they went out there and just had this hell of a match, and two guys that just felt evenly matched and just threw each other around with power bombs and what other crazy stuff they could come up with. And everything they did looked like they were just trying to slam the other dude through the mat. And I thoroughly enjoyed this match from start to finish. And it's the first time since he's been in Impact where I felt like Cage looked really, really good. I loved him in Lucha Underground, but something about, I don't know, something just hadn't really clicked in Impact yet. And his matches with Johnny Impact weren't that great. And I don't know if it was just the two just didn't click or whatever, but I didn't think those matches did a good job of making either one of them look really good. But this match I thought was outstanding. I was like, holy shit. And it was nice to see, after the X Division match, which was more of a smaller guys, athletic guys, breakneck speed. It was refreshing, actually, to get this match, which was all about two big hosses just clubbering each other, and I loved it. It was very, very cool, and I really enjoyed it. And Cage retained the title, and post-match, Michael Elgin beat him up and was going to beat up Don Callis. He dragged him out from the announce booth and was going to beat him up, too, until he was saved by a masked man who did a very familiar-looking spear and had a very familiar build, and was quite obviously Rhino under the mask. And it was so funny to me because Josh Matthews looked flabbergasted. He could barely stammer out a sentence. He sounded confused, like he had no idea who this masked man was. I'm like, dude, it's Rhino. We all know it's Rhino. I mean, that is so obviously Rhino. There's nobody else it could be. But technically, he's still under contract. I've been told he's still under contract with the WWE, which is probably why he's under a mask right now. But still, it was a nice surprise, and I like Rhino, so I don't object to seeing Rhino. But if he's able to bring some of that old school Rhino spark back and have some nice matches with Elgin and Cage, I'm all for it. So the world title match gets a thumbs up for me. It would have made a great main event on any other pay-per-view. But it was not the closing match on this show. They decided to close with Tessa Blanchard versus Sami Callihan. Their big, like, kind of, I guess you could call it an attraction match. The intergender match between the two people who I personally think have been the MVPs of TNA or Impact for at least the last year and a half, 2 years. Tessa is gold, and I've sung her praises all the time. I think she's great. And Sami Callihan, one of the few guys who didn't work out in NXT and just didn't click for whatever reason. And then he gets away from there, and you see how great he is. And it's like, man. And it's all the way he carries himself and the way he cuts promos and everything. He's a natural at playing this character, this psychopath that he plays. And I thought the match these two had was very, very good and highlighted the strengths of both of them, where Tessa was the clear-cut face, Sami was the clear-cut heel, and I thought they put together a very nice match with each other where you really wanted to see Tessa get the win. And, if they're going to do this intergender stuff, I'm glad that they would pick someone like Tessa to do it, because I think she's more of a natural fit, given her athletic prowess, her history in the business, and just how she carries herself. I mean, she looks like a badass. It's not like when they were doing it with Scarlett Bordeaux, who looks like a Barbie doll, and I'm like, oh, come on. Like, I don't buy that she could beat a man in a fight. I don't buy that. She's the type, and the character for Scarlett that was presented to us initially was, she's the type that would, like, if she was in a match with a dude, she would try to seduce the dude to get out of the fight, and then get the guy to lay down for her. Like, that's the type of character that Scarlett Bordeaux was presented to us initially, and then they, for whatever reason, just went against what got her over in the first place. I don't know. So whenever she was in an intergender match, it looked kind of silly to me. It was played more for laughs. Tessa looks a lot more believable. Jordynne Grace would be another one that would fit a little bit more believably. Havoc would be another one. One of the participants in the Monsters Ball. She would fit in with those type of intergender matches. But Tessa fit really, really well here, and I thought her and Sami had a hell of a match, and it was actually, like, kind of sad when she lost. It was nice to see Sami get a big pay-per-view win, because it feels like Sami is always that heel. Like, whenever I watch the Impact pay-per-views, he gets a lot of build-up and then he loses, so it's nice to see the heel actually get a big win. And he even gave Tessa her props after the match, where he handed her back her golden bat and everything, and gave her that little show of respect, which, as far as I know, the Sami Callihan character that we see in Impact has never done that for anybody. And legitimately meant it anyway. So, I thought it was a very good match. I really, really liked it. And I know a lot of people, intergender matches kind of make them feel a little uncomfortable or whatever, but to me, it's like, I don't know, sometimes, like, pushing the envelope and, going that extra mile and trying something that makes people feel a little uncomfortable, that kind of works for me. And now, I'm not saying I'm advocating things like Katie Vick or anything like that, but, sometimes doing things that make people feel a little uncomfortable is a reason to do it, because it's, it's a little bit more daring, and you can get more art out of it. And Lucha Underground got some really good stuff out of it, so why not? And I thought the match went very well. I thought both of them came off looking very, very good in the end. And Tessa, this and her match with Gail, I mean, she's having a hell of a 2019, and when we're looking at, all right, who are the top women in wrestling in 2019, I think a lot of people are going to go for Becky Lynch, obviously, because she's the biggest. For all intents and purposes, right now, she's the biggest star in WWE who's not a part-timer. And so I think she would get a lot of consideration, but honestly, like, a sheer body of work thing, I think Tessa's not too far behind. Like, if we're going to judge it based on, like, body of work, I think Tessa deserves a lot of credit as well, so. My personal opinion, but in any case, I thought Impact's Slammiversary kind of surprised me and was a very, very good show, and I thoroughly enjoyed almost every match on the show, except for the tag match, which, again, that one had an excuse because there was a legit injury, so hopefully Santana's okay, but, yeah, I thought was a very good show. One of the better pay-per-views I've seen this year. Never thought I'd say that about not this year with AEW kicking off, and we're in the midst of the G1 Climax, getting started up and everything, and Wrestle Kingdom and Dominion. Okay, 2019. If you told me that Slammiversary was going to be a better show than Wrestle Kingdom and Dominion, I'd have been like, you're fucking lying. I have to say, I think Slammiversary was a better show than both of those shows, which is crazy to me. But in any case, thumbs up to Impact Wrestling. I thought you put on a hell of a show. I really, really enjoyed it. It was a very unique show. Each match was different. Each match offered something, a different story, and each match delivered in what it was trying to do. So I was thoroughly entertained by just about everything on the show, and I'm going to give Impact Wrestling their props. I thought the show was excellent. Hopefully that means good things for them moving forward. I don't know where their place in the wrestling business is going to be once AEW starts up on TNT. But that's something we'll just have to wait and see. But I think that this show was great, and I think Impact, for all the shit that they get, and a lot of it deserved, I thought this show was excellent. So I just want to come on here and give them all the praise that they deserve for putting on a great show. So that concludes this video. It's all I have for you now. Thanks again, everybody, for watching. Be sure to support the channel by liking, subscribing, commenting, and hitting that little bell icon to make sure you get notified of my future videos. But that is all I have for you now. Thanks again, everybody, for watching. Welcome back from July 4th weekend. Hopefully you all had a great holiday, and you will have more videos from me in the near future, so be on the lookout for those. But that's all I have for you now, so stay tuned for more, and I'll see you all later.